Planeswalkers, welcome to this week's series of Friday Night Meta, our first here for our lovely Crimson Vow series and set on Magic the Gathering Arena. We got a lot of changes here, very excited to cover some of these and looking forward to bringing you the top stuff on Magic the Gathering meta. So with that said, Planeswalkers, it's yours truly, MetaMaster Mythras. Welcome to Friday Night Meta. Like I said, appreciate you tuning in. Flip me that like if you enjoyed today's video. If you have a question, if you have a comment, let me know. Love to hear from you. Or feel free to pop in the Discord server. That's in the details, along with the timestamps for today's video, where we will break down, boom, best of 1 data, best of 3 data for both standard and historic. We'll go into historic Brawl. We'll do a quick peek at what if maybe has impacted this recent meta and talk about what's coming next, Planeswalkers. So very excited about that. Appreciate you again tuning in. Lots of great ways to support the channel, stay connected, and appreciate subs as always. All right, so here's what we got going on. Best of 1, we got the format starting to shape up a little bit, starting to see some key decks in terms of what's happening. We've got a couple newcomers here. Orzhov Control's a new one in terms of the shell, in terms of what we've been seeing. We've seen a lot of changes and additions. Azor's Control, Mono White, things like that towards the top, we've slotted in. So as I always say, the best always continues to pull forward out of the gate, and that's still what we're seeing. Orzhov Control is the one that's kind of popping in there. We've also got Dimmer Zombies now as part of that as well. Now, the biggest piece here that's pretty crazy is even after this change, Mono White aggro still remains 24% of the meta. Now, at large, this is where we're looking right now. So let's go ahead and we'll dive into this. So as you can see, there's been a continued uptick, or at least flat line here of Mono White. You can see Mono Green starting to fall off a little bit. Everything else here is starting to come up a little bit more with some of those newcomer decks like we talked about. Win rates over time, Mono White continues to do very well. A huge jump, actually, in 2%. It's not too bad, but still a big jump. And then as you look, a lot of the other stuff doing pretty well. So Zombies getting a little bit better in the meta. As it turns kind of moderating and leveling out, that Mono Black Control doing well in terms of win rate there. So a couple different things I continue to say and say again. We will see more of these probably changes here in best of 1 over time, but that is where things are at right now. So let's go ahead and look at the more competitive scene. If we see anything different, nothing really changed here in terms of that, but let's go ahead and blow out into each of our tiers so you can kind of see what's going on, because that's always pretty big. Rakdos Control, Gruul Landfall in there. We got Mono Red Goblins we've seen pop in, Rakdos Vampires, a few different things there in the meta. As we get to gold, starts to kind of shape and stiffen out to what we had before. Gruul Werewolves still in that space, so that one's not fully gone. When we get to Platinum, when we get to Diamond, we got that Gruul Werewolves there as well, so just not played as much in aggregate of the meta. And as we hit Mythic, here's what we got. Jeskai Turns is the #1 deck in Mythic for best of 1. And then we got everything else here. So big difference there when you drill in. You can see a little bit more changes in terms of what's happening with this meta, which is pretty important to take a peek at. So we'll walk back here, look at things in broad, and we'll pop over to best of 3 for standard. So best of 3 for standard, here's what we got. Mono Green Stompy still at the top. We got Rakdos Vampires coming in and doing very well. More in the middle there of the popularity. Mono White aggro, Is It Turns, Is It Dragons, Orzhov Clerics, a new one there. Dimmer Control and Dimmer Zombies also being a new one here for our Crimson Vow meta. So when we look at what we have going on, again, very heavy in some of the older decks, some of the newer decks kind of not being played as much, but making a dent in the meta. Here we can see what's happening. So we got that Mono White aggro moving up. We got Is It Turns doing well. We got Dimmer Control doing well. Green kind of falling off a little bit. Vampires falling off a little bit, and so forth. We look at the win rates. As Vampires kind of fall off, the win rate starts getting better. Everything else kind of coming down. Then we got Mono Green kind of doing the same thing. Control Zombies slowly going up as well. So that's what it looks like in aggregate. Let's go ahead and drill into, again, the competitive scene. So a little bit different here. We see a new one, Jund Midrange, popping in here. That wasn't there previously, so that's a big move, and then a lot of other things kind of moving around there. We have mono black zombies in there as well, a deck that I ran this week, along with mono white aggro, and Is It Turns as well. So very, very interesting in terms of what we have in terms of that makeout as well, and you can kind of see that picture there. So let's go ahead, we'll break down each one. I know that there's really nothing here, but I just always like to check because I'm always curious. As we get into silver, there's a few things. There's like Cruel Werewolves, gold changes things a little bit here. We got Azor's Control in there. As we move over to platinum, here's what we see in platinum. Then we get into diamond, a little bit more competitive. Rakdos Vampires doing very well. Azor's Control, Dimmer Control not doing as well. We got Cruel Werewolves in there. And last but not least, we get into mythic. Mythic here, we got mono green, Rakdos Vampires. Is it? Mono green aggro, Gruul, Azor's Control, and Dimmer Control. And you can see Is It Turns in mono white being huge there on terms of the amount of percentage played here in the meta. 50% between those three, 60% between these four. Crazy. So keep that in mind. So for those of you playing in Vegas this weekend, I would expect one of 4 decks here. maybe some breakthrough stuff. We'll find out. Best of luck to those of you playing. Wish I could join you. All right, but I got to be adulted. So let's go ahead here. We'll break this back out. We're going to pop over to Historic for those of you Historic players. Selesnya Squirrel Twin, #1 right now. We got some new changes here. Jund Sacrifice getting back in. Mono Red Burn. Mono White Life Gain popping back in. Gruul Shamans. And then you can see percent played here on the right for best of 1. So Mono Green Elves not being the top played. In terms of win rate, Selesnya Twin just skyrocketing in popularity. In terms of the new Crimson Vow set. Let's go ahead again. This is best of 1. Let's go ahead and we'll look at the more competitive scene. Here's what we got in that space as well, and similar style there. So let's blow things out because I know again many of you like to take a peek at these. So let's go ahead there, and that's what we got in silver. So we get to gold. Here's what we got going on in gold. Mono green. Platinum, more competitive scene. There you go. Squirrel Twin continues to dominate. We'll get to diamond. Jeskai Control popping in here. And last but not least, we get to mythic. We got Selesnya Enchantress, 5-color Dragonstorm, mono red aggro, Squirrel Twin there. So it takes a little bit of a change here when you get to mythic. So it's important to see that there is a difference. So enjoy Planeswalkers. That is best of 1. Let's blow it back out again for the last time. We'll go to best of 3 historic. Here's what we got in best of 3 historic. Is It Phoenix, Azorus Auras, Azorus Affinity. That's new. Jund Sacrifice, Selesnya Humans, Selesnya Enchantress combo, and 5-color Niv. A lot of the top end being dominated at these 10%. So pretty interesting to see that. We can look down here and see what's going on. Selesnya Company really straddling the top, getting knocked down a little bit in terms of best of 3 here, making things a little bit different. We see a little bit tighter spread. A couple newcomers in there as well, like we've talked about. So let's go to the competitive scene. Does it change? It does not change except for popularity. So that's a big thing to keep in mind and keep an eye out on. But now a lot of times that's just going to be because of the fact that we don't have anything here. Not so much here. Maybe here. There we start. So you can tell that from a data perspective, that's what happens. When you get to platinum again, the more competitive scene, you start to see more. We got Rakdos Goblins in here too. Rakdos Arcanist popping in. Let's get over to diamond. In diamond, we got Is It Phoenix, Selesnya Enchantress, Jeskai Control, Gruul Shamans, 5-color Niv. Last but not least, when we hit mythic, we got Is It Phoenix, Gruul Shamans, 5-color Niv. Mono Red Madness, Selesnya Enchantress, and Jeskai Control. So a host of things there. Lots of good data for you this week in terms of the new set. And we'll continue to move forward and keep an eye and monitor what is happening in this meta for you. So last but not least, let's go take a look at Brawl because it's always fun. Did we get any changes? We got Winata back at the top. Kinnan, the first sliver, Tatyova, Yurok, Sithis, Golos, and Izika. Again, tight spreads, but it's always fun to see what we got going on, 50-50%. And then as you can see, as things kind of change here, everything's kind of changing around with the new set, which is great. Winata's just skyrocketed. Poof. Probably one of you just playing that, right? No, just kidding. Anyway, that is what we have for historic, standard, and historic Brawl. Very, very interesting in terms of what we have going on. Again, a good snapshot for you here in terms of some different outcomes with the current meta. So let's go ahead and see what's new. So last weekend, one of the big tournaments, obviously Red Bull. Here is what we had coming out of that. Mono white aggro. I ran Raphael's deck here this week on the channel. The big switch here is you're getting Thalia's, which is big. This one's got the Exile, so it's got Stonebinder in there too. Big things to keep in mind. We see Is It Epiphany. So again, in terms of best three, what we saw, a lot of these decks being at the top and played in that meta. If we move over and down here and take a look at percent of the field, or look at the number of decks, we can see most played was mono white aggro, mono green. Is it Dragon Steamer Control? You can look at the percent wins here. So this is a big deal. Look at that, mono white aggro just absolutely dominating things. If we want to see some of the most well overran decks in terms of win rates, here you go. Lots of one-offs there. But a majority of the players with mono white aggro, boom, doing very well there. So good to keep in mind. You can see again some of that impression on the meta. This is a good tournament for us to take a look at. Lots of players. Next, we got Hooglandia. Hooglandia was another take, a fun one as well. So here's what we got there. We got Is It Epiphany. We got this Azorus combo. We got Boros Burn doing pretty well. We see Orzhov Clerics making a way into the space, and so forth here, my friends. So let's go ahead and we can look down here too again. If you want to look at the number of decks, go the other way. Is It Dragons right in the middle? Orzhov Clerics doing very well here. Is It Epiphany and those kinds of things. So very cool. Those are some of the big pieces that influenced the meta this week. And very excited about what we have going on and what we have coming up. So in response to all this, we got a big weekend coming out of Vegas PT, so it'll be fun to see what's going on here and what happens. Lots of fun players out there, so good luck, and lots of fun content creators be checking out. So Planeswalkers, I hope you enjoyed today's Friday night meta weekly series that we have here on the channel. Better late than never, I always say. And we got a lot going on, and looking forward to bringing you a ton more content here for Crimson Vow. So we got a fun Innistrad set before us. I think people are enjoying it. We're having some fun in the Discord server. Please be sure to check that out as well. As always, thank you. Appreciate that support. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. If you got feedback for me, love to hear you down below or in the Discord server, like I say. We'll see you again soon. Flip me that like if you enjoyed the video. And great ways to stay connected to the channel and the community here on the multiverse. You can feel free to sub. Lots of great things to keep up to date on. And I got a lot more content coming your way. Standard top decks, historic, jank, Friday night meta episodes, tier list. We got some cool fast facts for you now as well that you should check out that are pretty helpful. So with that, until next time, we'll see you again soon and next week for our series. Mythras out. Take care and stay safe.